But to me now, the low's going to come when you purge stuff like Shiba Inu that's still worth $3 billion, tracks nothing, and Dogecoin that's still worth $15 billion and tracks nothing. To me, that's the stuff that needs to be purged. And then we'll put a big bottom.
Chuyên gia phân tích tiền mã hóa Scott Melker vào ngày 6 tháng 2 năm 2026 đã đưa ra một phân tích khẩn cấp về thị trường crypto đang liên tục lao dốc trong những ngày gần đây. Vậy hiện tại thị trường đang ở trong trạng thái như thế nào và xu hướng sắp tới sẽ diễn ra ra sao? Hãy cùng nhau theo dõi và phân tích những nhận định của ông.
I can. I think everybody's in a lot of pain. This has absolutely been brutal, as you can see here. Today's candle especially. Not that we haven't had a major sell-off going on for a very long time, but you take a look at this volume, right? I mean, you've got basically a week of increased selling volume leading into a massive candle that's sitting at the daily lows, right? It's called a Marbozu candle for those who pay attention, but not what you want to see if you're a bull, when you have a candle that's pushing to the lows, no bounce, no wicks, on extreme volume. Now, that can also end up looking like capitulation. On the more bullish side for a bounce, this is the third lowest the daily RSI has literally ever been in history. Wow. For oversold conditions. 2018 being number one, the lowest, and 2020 COVID crash being second that March. And we're about to tap that as we speak. And the weekly is now oversold for the first time. And you know that RSI tends to go oversold, overbought for the first time on Bitcoin in years, and only the fifth time in history, going all the way back to, pre-Mount Gox. So just to put it in context, I mean, this is historic selling. This is hideous. I think a lot of people are watching very obvious levels at this point. I'm sure you guys are too. You got the 200 MA down here on the weekly. Every time we've ever broken below the 50, I've been talking about this for a long time, you do tend to visit it. Did I think that was definitely going to happen? No, I don't know. But that's at 58. The 50 MA on the monthly is right there at 57,000 as well. And Ryan, my producer, showed me that also that price would be the first time I think that Bitcoin would be like below the cost of electricity, some metric about mining that would be major capitulation. So there's a lot lining up with that area. But listen, let's be honest. I mean, this is disgusting. This is what certainly, Mike, you've been talking about for a very, very long time, regardless of what price it started. I mean, there's even some headlines. Did you guys see the Bloomberg headline? Bitcoin drops below 70,000, wiping out gains since Trump's win. Wow. Below the price of Trump's election. So the entire basically gains from the tailwinds of a pro-crypto president completely gone. It's disgusting. But for me, it's a bit euphoric because I would have been buying Bitcoin right now at 150 if things had gone the way I liked. So I'm getting it at more than a 50% discount.
Yeah, and I think this is for a lot of people, right? I mean, we've kind of been lulled into Bitcoin going lower, but this is a huge move on Bitcoin. I mean, silver, again, people were euphoric. We know we saw those greed signals like we saw in crypto back in October. If you looked at how people feel, or even how they still feel about the stock market, the feeling is that every dip is to be bought because the Fed will never let the stock market go down. And that's, to me, always something so scary to hear that, right?
We've been saying it forever, and at some point it stops working. I know people who've held precious metals in their accounts for and can measure it in decades, and were selling last week because they just get too expensive, which happened in cryptos last year. But this is just very scary. And some of those prudent people are taking that money and putting it into long bonds. And that's what I think they're supposed to be doing. To me, and that's also, I love when people talk about the smart money. The key thing is Michael Saylor's supposed to be smart money. And if this continues, he's going to get stopped out.
So, Scott, do you go near Solana at these levels? I mean, Solana is down massively. Look at this. Right now, Solana is at $81.75. Like best of breed, obviously Bitcoin's kind of number one, and I know that's the majority of what you have, but do you play around a little bit here, bottom fish a little?
Yeah, I mean, I use Arch Public algorithms to buy. I have a fixed portfolio and it buys sizable dips, on daily, and I have it running on daily candles for Ethereum and Solana. So I will definitely be buying some Solana today. It is somewhat fractional of what I buy for Bitcoin. So, right. It's like a 80-10-10 or 70-15-15 kind of thing by the time I'm done. Yeah.
What about this one?
It actually trades Solana and Ethereum, so it sells bounces as well. So I want nothing to do with that. When I look at that, and that has nothing to do with the asset itself. I looked at the chart the other day. You have it drawn exactly as I do. It was sitting at an incredible support, but which to me was a generational risk reward, right? If you bought that box and you had a tight stop, you move on with your life and you're wrong. That's great. But people were actually very angry at me. I wrote a tweet that said, great risk reward to buy XRP here if you like buying support, right? And I said, because you can cut it if it breaks.
Exactly.
Of course, then a bunch of like crypto media picked up on it and said I was like saying that XRP was a generational buy opportunity or something, which I would have never said for anybody who knows me. But then you stop out really quickly and you move on with your life. But what I also said in that tweet was, if it breaks, there's an air pocket down to below $1 and there's no reason. Look at that.
Cents. Yeah.
Nothing there.
Right down to 50 cents.
There's nothing there.
Yeah.
It's that, to me, that's setting up for an island top.
Theo Scott Melker, thị trường hiện tại không đơn thuần chỉ là một đợt điều chỉnh kỹ thuật, mà đang chứng kiến áp lực bán cực kỳ mạnh ở mức độ hiếm gặp ngay cả trong lịch sử. Ông đặc biệt nhấn mạnh sự xuất hiện của một cây nến Marubozu rất lớn trên khung ngày, giá bị đẩy thẳng xuống đáy không có nhịp hồi, đi kèm với khối lượng giao dịch cực đoan. Marubozu là loại nền mà giá mở cửa gần như trùng với giá cao nhất và giá đóng cửa gần như trùng với giá thấp nhất, gần như không có bóng nền, thể hiện tâm lý bán tháo một chiều, áp đảo hoàn toàn. Xét về các chỉ báo kỹ thuật, ông cho rằng tình huống lần này là rất bất thường. Khung ngày đang tiền sát mức thấp thứ 3 trong lịch sử, chỉ sau các giai đoạn 2018 và đốt sụp đổ do Covid vào tháng 3 năm 2020. Đáng chú ý hơn, RSI khủng tuần đã lần đầu tiên trong lịch sử Bitcoin rơi vào vùng quá bán, điều chưa từng xảy ra trước đây. Về cấu trúc giá, Scott Melker đề cập rằng vùng nơi đường trung bình đồng 200 tuần giao cắt với đường trung bình động 50 tháng có thể đóng vai trò là vùng hỗ trợ quan trọng ở phía dưới. Đây cũng là khu vực mà giá có khả năng giảm xuống dưới chi phí điện để khai thác, làm gia tăng nguy cơ thờ đào, buộc phải bán tháo. Bên cạnh đó, ông cũng lưu ý rằng trong bối cảnh nỗi sợ hãi cực độ, một phần dòng tiền đang rút khỏi các tài sản rủi ro và chuyển sang các tài sản an toàn như trái phiếu chính phủ dài hạn. Theo ông, điều này cho thấy niềm tin quen thuộc của thị trường rằng mỗi đợt điều chỉnh đều là cơ hội mua, đang bắt đầu bị lung lay. Scott Melker kết luận rằng, xét về mặt cảm xúc, thị trường đang ở trong giai đoạn tồi tệ nhất, nhưng xét về mặt cấu trúc, đây có thể là quá trình hình thành một điểm chuyển đổi quan trọng của thị trường.
Well, I just want to ask a question. We had this theme way years ago. Certainly, when in 2020, when Mr. Saylor started jumping in around 10,000, that was widely disseminated. ETFs will put the peak in the market, and of course, Trump got elected, and that put it a double peak. But to me, now the low is going to come when you purge stuff like Shiba Inu that's still worth $3 billion, tracks nothing, and Dogecoin that's still worth $15 billion and tracks nothing. To me, that's the stuff that needs to be purged. And then we'll put a big bottom. So I don't ultimately see a bottom in the whole space until we get a decent washout in the stock market. And I don't know how bad that could be. It could be a 50% drawdown. We've had two already since the beginning of this millennium. We're way overdue. I mean, it's such a setup for that, which means a normal recession because of that. And just to get that, all that silly, those millions of cryptos that are worth, that track nothing, that are numbers on a screen that people are so emotional about, which is the worst thing to ever do in a market, just purge them, and then we'll find a bottom. So I think right now we're supposed to be, it's a key thing to remember. This is an awesome trading environment. And Scott and Garrett, you know this, the best rallies come in short covering rallies and bear markets. You're going to get some great opportunities to have 10, 20, 15% pops. But the big picture, I think, is looking for those pops to be getting into prudent shorts. And I still look at, in the macro, Bitcoin is a prudent short. You're supposed to be lightening up a little bit around here, 64,000. Copper, to me, still looks like a prudent short. Natural gas, well, that you don't want to short that. Crude oil, potentially, if you get a little pop on something in the Middle East, shorting that. Copper, prudent shorts. And the bottom line is still, we haven't had the thing to really kick them in yet. And that's I want to see it some normalization in stock market volatility. It's still buried.
Yeah, and just from my personal perspective as a swing trader, I am nibbling on IBIT today. IBIT, again, the ETF that tracks Bitcoin, mainly because the old adage goes, when there's blood in the streets, buy, right? Yeah. And all I care about is the short covering bounce. Yeah. Give me 15 or 10% even, and I'm out of this trade. But I do think today, with the volume that Scott showed, those are signs that maybe there's a little bit more, but I'll DCA down there. Maybe we go to 55, whatever it may be. But ultimately, I think we'll get a big bounce, $10,000, $15,000 bounce on Bitcoin at some point. And it wouldn't even shock me. At some point, I do think that Trump may try to show up for crypto. To be honest, if he doesn't, that's a little messed up considering the promises that were made early on. Not that I think he cares that much, but I could see him trying to stabilize this since so much of the core was voting for him, right? I mean, that's really what he wooed the crypto crowd like crazy.
So just let me follow up on that. I called it a Faustian bargain at the time. It's a Faustian bargain that's unwinding. He got elected. I don't think I don't think it's top on his list of everything that's going on with that administration right now. The primary focus right now is the midterms, and he's got to do something about the inflation issue, and maybe the market will do it for him. And I think they might have figured out stuff we talked about a year ago. You just get a little backup in the stock market, and all those issues he wants. You want lower yields, you want lower energy, you want the Fed to ease. It'll all happen.
Nếu bạn thấy video hôm nay hữu ích, đừng quên nhận đăng ký và like nhé. Xin cảm ơn.